issue 6 of the packaging standard. It's still fairly new to us. It hasn't been out as long as food issue 8 has been out. And so we're still getting a lot of interest in this course. We've got 2 options here. We've got sites training course and an auditor training course. So let's take a look at what some of the content looks like. So let's just open all of this for you. So essentially for sites training, so people who work for a packaging site, this course is a 2-day course, and you will notice here that yes, there's an introduction here, but essentially what we're doing is we're covering all the sections of the standard, so sections 1 through to 7. Okay, when I say the requirements or the sections, I'm talking about the actual clauses, the bit we're all most interested in, okay, so that you know what you need to comply with. There's also a little bit about audit protocol, and at the end of day 2, people attending this course will complete their exam through BRC Educate. The 3-day auditor course includes a bit more detail, more about how the scheme is managed. So it's the rest of the standard or the protocol section. There's also a bit there on auditor requirements. So what you need to do to become a formal third-party auditor, if you wanted to, and the exam at the end of day 3. Okay, so the question is, who exactly wants to attend these courses? Well, it isn't only sites who attend the sites training, and it isn't only people wanting to be formal third-party auditors who attend the auditor training. We also get people working for a packaging BRC certified site who want to attend the auditor training because they just want to know as much as they could possibly know. We have consultants also who don't work for a packaging company. Perhaps they consult to packaging companies, or they consult mainly to food manufacturers, but they also want the knowledge involved for the manufacture of packaging. So yeah, absolutely, consultants could attend either of those courses as well. So lots of different people, lots of different reasons why you might want to attend one or the other. So now I've taken just a few slides just to give you a taste of the course content. These are just random slides from each of those 3 days. All right, just so you can see. So a very interesting topic is risk-based deviations, where on the basis of risk, okay, certain hygiene requirements may be deviated from. Now, this isn't where we just say not applicable. Okay, that's quite different. Risk-based deviations are, as in the name, based on a risk assessment. So the site would argue the case and say, we are not making packaging for either food or for cosmetics or for any other high hygiene or hygiene sensitive products. All we're doing is we're making a cardboard box for a toaster, for example. And on the basis of that risk assessment, they can deviate from certain clause requirements. So we go into this in great detail so that there's a good understanding of how this works. Yeah. So based on a risk assessment for the auditor to evaluate. And so if you're attending this course from an auditor point of view, again, this will tell you exactly what you're looking for to demonstrate that the site is complying. Another random slide taken from the course, and this is on section 2, HARA, Hazard and Analysis Risk Assessment. This is a fascinating subject. Although HARA is really similar to HACCP, okay, we still follow the key steps. The types of hazards or the groups of hazards are quite different to food. So whereas with food, we've got the 6 categories, haven't we? We've got many more categories here in packaging. So the hazard of recycled materials, for example, functional integrity, okay? Bear in mind that packaging has to serve a particular function. And in some cases, that function can be quite technical. And so proving that functionality or protecting that functionality or mitigating against the risk of the packaging not functioning. That's another interesting subject. Of course, substance migration, unintended substance migration. Even if you're in the food industry, we're all well aware of this one. Again, you've got your malicious intervention and fraud, just like we've got in the food standard. So this is an interesting subject that we go into. Jumping all the way to section 5, this is also quite specific to packaging, where the site, the packaging manufacturer who is doing any printing, any form of printing or artwork on the packaging. Clearly, we know that in the food industry, this is the #1 cause for recalls, where we've got mistakes on artwork or incorrect labeling, specifically related to allergens, but it can be related to anything. So you can see how this is a real concern for the packaging industry, and needs to be well managed, put it that way. So we talk through this and what's required in terms of artwork management, exactly how all of this is controlled. We also take a look at how to grade nonconformity. So this is a slide taken from the auditor course on day 3. And it's not the only slide that we've got on grading nonconformities, but it's one of the most useful slides that helps the auditor to really think about grading a nonconformity fairly. Yeah, in a fair manner, and it's from a site's point of view. It's also quite interesting to know what fair looks like, and so yes, it's absolutely important. Again, we need to protect the BRC reputation of these standards. They are good standards. They really are. They're pretty decent. I've audited and I've been involved with all sorts of other standards in the past, and BRC standards are pretty decent. BRC is not attending, by the way, so I'm not saying that for their sake. They are pretty decent standards. So all our auditor courses, we do go to great lengths to make sure that the auditor is well equipped to do a good, fair audit. You know, we don't want people saying, oh my word, I just had my BRC audit and it was absolutely awful. We don't want that. Yeah, we want auditors to be confident as well. So this is why we go through these kinds of things in depth. Another really interesting point here is the manufacturing categories for packaging. And this is fascinating if you're new to the subject, because packaging, of course, just like food, you've got 18 categories and there's a vast array of different food types. The same is true for packaging. So we look at glass manufacturing and forming and the kind of knowledge that the auditor would need to have to become an auditor to this category. We look at paper-based packaging, metal, rigid plastics, flexible plastics, printing process, which is complex in itself, and other chemical processes, all involved in manufacturing packaging. And again, looking at the competencies that the auditor needs to be approved for these categories. Now, of course, an auditor, if you want to become an auditor to the standard, it doesn't mean that you need competencies in all of these categories, not at all. You would go with the ones where you've got experience and knowledge. So that's what it's based on. And that's the same in the food standard. In the food standard, you apply for approval to the categories where you have experience and category knowledge. Okay, a little bit about the exam. The auditor exam is 50 questions, 75% pass mark. You get 75 minutes or 100 minutes if English is not your first language. All right. And for sites, it's easier. It's 25 questions, 60% pass mark, 40 minutes or 55 if English is not your first language. Again, 3 attempts are allowed for the exam. Okay. As I said before, we try to start the exam as early as possible, just in case you need time for another attempt. But if there isn't time on the day, then that's not a problem. We just schedule it in, that's all. So the exam protocol requires that I can see you completing the exam basically, but it's still done over Zoom remotely. And so we just schedule that in. And again, the exam can be completed on any device whatsoever. And again, the course can be attended on any device. Okay, it could be your phone, your laptop, your iPad. And the exam is open book. Okay, both exams are open book. So you can refer to the packaging standard, absolutely. In fact, you need the standard. One of the requirements to attend the course is that you have read the standard. So you have read it before, but you certainly will want to refer to it just to support you while you're doing the exam. And you can refer to the course notes also to support you during the exam.